Following the defeat of Arlong, the Straw Hat Pirates would arrive to the last leg of their journey before they would begin their start in the Grand Line. It was in a place known as Loguetown. As the Going Merry docked into the ship bay, everyone setting off the ship to gather their supplies and anything else they might need for the journey ahead. For Luffy, Loguetown had a special place in his heart. Vulko had told him many stories about some of the escapades of the great pirates of his time. Of course, among all of them, there was the tale of Goldie Roger, who was king of the pirates. Of course, it wasn't that Vulko knew Goldie Roger, no, not even close. But he was a famed pirate whose escapades were known all around the world. Even for the average citizen, it was impossible that you wouldn't know of Goldie Roger. He was infamously known all throughout. And here was not only where he was born, but it was also where he died. For Luffy, he wanted to visit that place. He wanted to see where Roger met his end, to see what he saw, to fully embrace the journey he was taking on unto himself. Sanji was going to gather cooking supplies. Zoro needed to replace his two swords that had been broken by Mihawk, and everyone else was going to be looking for anything that they might need. Nami, some other materials. Usopp probably looking for some more ammo for his slingshot, among other things. In the meanwhile, there was a marine base at Loguetown, headed by a marine captain, Smoker. It wasn't uncommon to see him riding on his motorcycle or to see him puffing on a cigar, or multiple cigars all at once. They had just recently gotten the news about the new bounties that had come out for the one known as Monkey D. Luffy, a boy that carried with him a straw hat and wielded a trident that he carried on his back. For Smoker, when he looked into the picture, seeing the boy's face, the way he smiled, there was something unsettling, something unnerving about him. Captain Smoker, don't you think it's a little odd that he's fighting with that old dated weapon? A trident of all things. It doesn't matter what he fights with. The only thing that matters is that he's the name of a pirate who's hit my desk. And he's just one more to be brought in. However, as Smoker looked closer at the photo, there was something still unnerving about it all. There was something about this boy. He wasn't ordinary or like anyone else he'd ever come across. But all the same, he was a pirate. And a pirate was a pirate, no matter who or what they were. In the meantime, Zoro had gone to find himself two new swords. However, with the funds that they had, he wasn't going to be able to get anything all too fancy. Going to the sword shop, though, he would run into someone who he didn't know, but yet was oddly familiar. It was a woman who was a part of the Marines, her name being Tashigi. The glasses-eyed girl who was fascinated with the legendary swords of all kind was enthusiastic to see the one that Zoro was carrying. Although for Zoro, the appearance of the woman reminded him of Kuena, an acquaintance he had in his childhood. Although she had died, it was almost as if he were still standing in her presence with Tashigi now. In the end, Zoro only had enough to buy one sword. However, there was someone else within the shop, someone who had taken notice of him and thought to himself, could now be the time? Could this be the one? As Zoro was leaving, having to now deal with that he only had two swords, although he preferred having the three-sword style, he would be called out Excuse me, young man. What do you want? I saw that you were in the market looking for a sword. Yeah? I would have preferred to have gotten two if I could, but I can only afford the one. I see. So, you fight with three swords. That's oddly peculiar. You don't see many who choose to be proficient in using multiple blades at once. It's just a style I've come up with for myself. It's what I like. It works best for me. I see. I have something I'd like to give you, if you think you can handle it. You want to give me something? It's an old relic. I mean, for me, I have no longer a use for it. But I think someone of your caliber might just be the one capable of using it to its fullest potential. Zoro would be intrigued by the man, as the man would take him to a much more secluded area, a place where they couldn't be seen. Zoro stood on guard, of course, not knowing if this were a trap, if the man was looking to try to ambush him. Almost suddenly, the man would swing out of nowhere, Zoro using his sword to block. What the man held in his hand was a sword, but the sword was entirely green. Zoro would back away and defend multiple strikes against the older man. He seemed so ordinary, well-kempt, he didn't even appear to be a swordsman. You certainly are good on defense, aren't you? Roared Zoro. So, you know who I am. You've come for my head? No, on the contrary. I merely wanted to see if you could survive that first strike. I was aiming to take your head off. Take my head off? If I had, well, then I guess it meant your crew would have been down one less member. But if you were able to survive that, then I think you'll be able to get somewhere with what I have to give you. So you're still trying to give me something. I don't even know if I want it. Oh, I think you will. It's something far greater than anything you could ever buy. Just as quickly as it had appeared, the green sword would disappear. Wait, how did you do that? You just made your sword disappear. Well, the sword was nothing more but a construct of my imagination and willpower. Imagination? Willpower? Precisely. The man would show off what he had on his hand, on his ring finger to his right hand. It was a green ring with an odd symbol on it. You see this, Zoro? This here is a ring. It's something I came across in my journeys a long, long time ago. It has the power to create anything just using the power of the mind. Willpower, if you will. Willpower? One's own will and spirit. You use it to charge the ring, and from there you can create anything you want. The man would demonstrate this, creating multiple different objects and things of that nature. He created a small boat. He created birds that flew. Anything he could think of. Zoro seeing all of this, it felt like it was fantastical in that moment. What kind of magic is that? Honestly, I have not the slightest clue. It was something that I got on my journeys a long time ago. I used to be a pirate, you see. Part of a big crew. Although, for me, those days have long since come and gone. Ever since the day that my captain was executed. Your captain was executed? Uh-huh. It happened here, on this very island. I will never forget that day. Honestly, I knew at that point our journey had come to an end. With the crew disbanded, I had no reason to continue on in my travels. No reason to keep using this. I figure if I leave the way things are now, I'll die of old age and this thing will just collect dust. I've had my adventures out there in the great seas, but it doesn't mean that this ring can't go out and see them once again. The man took off the ring before throwing it to Zoro. Why are you giving this to me? Because I have great faith in you and in your potential. I believe if anyone could have the greatest of wills, it would be you. Now, of course, I don't expect you to go around making a lot of things with that mind of yours. You're a simple-minded fighter. You have a one-track mind and a one-track style. But I believe you'll be able to use this ring to its fullest potential. Because out of everyone, I believe you will have one of the stronger wills of the sea. Stronger wills. Put the ring on, Zoro. Zoro at first was a bit hesitant to do so, but at his request he did. After putting on the ring, he would tell Zoro to think of something. Just think of it. Zoro would then think of what he wanted in that moment. What came into his hand was a sword, an emerald sword of elegance and beauty. It was created through Zoro's own thought and will, and yet it felt real as his other two swords. Zoro would swing it in the air. The sword felt alive. It felt powerful. That sword is charged by your will, by your strength. As long as you are strong and alive, so too will that ring be. However, whenever you're weak, whenever you're exhausted, the ring won't really be effective. I don't need to tell you that. Wait, so you don't have to, charge it up or anything? Well, I used to. Well, that was a long time ago, but I worked past that bug a while ago, so no need to recharge it. Well, it does need to be charged, but to be more specific, Zoro, you are the charger. Right now, you're at full strength, so anything you make will be at full strength. But whenever you're injured, tired, exhausted, again, so too will the ring be. Also, the ring matches your will and conviction. The stronger your willpower, the stronger the ring. If you falter, if you ever doubt yourself, if you doubt your abilities, so too will the power falter. You have to believe in yourself just as much. As long as you have a strong will, Zoro, as long as it remains firm and unshaken, then I promise you, nothing you create will ever be destroyed. You will truly wield the strongest sword in the world. Zoro was in awe of this, of the potential that this sort of thing had. And he was just giving it to him? Hey, wait a second. Why would you just give this thing to me? I mean, you could sell it for a fortune. I mean, you could do so many other things. Why would you choose me to have it? Because I see a lot of potential in you, Zoro, and in your crew. If anyone has what it takes to conquer the Grand Line, I know that you will be the ones to do it. You stand close to your captain. You're his right hand. The right hand should be firm, unbreakable. That's what the power of that ring represents. It's not something just to be sold off, or something that can just be traded. Weak men don't deserve to have it, because they are unfathomable. They're shakable. Their resolve, it's untested. You, on the other hand, I can sense that you have a great swell of willpower, the ability to overcome all of the obstacles, all of the trials and tribulations. And as such, I believe if there is anyone who is worthy, it is you. The older man would smile as he was going off to take his leave. Wait, what's your name? Well, to many, I'm simply Mr. Scott. That's all I am nowadays, and that's all I'll ever be. But, since I like you can call me Alan. With that, Alan would disappear into the crowd. Zoro tried to chase after him, but he was gone. As it started to downpour and rain began to set over Loguetown, Zoro, now left to his own devices, with a new tool to his arsenal, as he looked down at his hand in the ring that was wrapped around his finger. He would learn to master this power. He would use his will to create a sword that would be truly unbreakable. In the meantime, Luffy and Vulko had gone about through the streets of Loguetown before eventually descending down some stairs that led to the doorway of a bar. It was more run down, to say the least. It didn't seem like there was many people who came by these days. The lonely bartender was surprised to have two guests, as Luffy would sit at the counter along with Vulko, the two looking to have a drink real quick. I don't really get many guests around these parts. So, travelers, what's your story? We're just a couple of pirates heading to the Grand Line, Luffy would say. Pirates. And the Grand Line, you say? Sounds like you have big aspirations. Of course I do. I'm gonna be king of the pirates, you know. The older bartender was shocked to hear those words. Words he never thought he'd hear again in his lifetime. And yet even still, a sense of renewed vigor would wash over him. King of the pirates, you say? That's funny. I used to serve drinks to the king of the pirates. Wait, you did? Goldie Roger. He came here for drinks whenever he was having his travels in the East Blue. I served him and his crew a many a time. In fact, I remember the last time I gave him a drink. I remember it quite fondly. Wait, you met Goldie Roger? Luffy would say with pure excitement. What was he like? I mean, what did he say? What did he do? There's no real way to describe what Goldie Roger was. He was an enigma. Something you think only comes around once in a lifetime. He had sailed all across the four seas, traveled back and forth from the Grand Line and even to the New World, the one known as having found the One Piece. Yes, Goldie Roger was far greater than anything that anyone could possibly imagine. I even remember the day that he died. The gallows where he was executed still stand to this very day. They do? But still, what many people would have considered to be a form of defeat. No, rather, Goldie Roger turned it into that of victory. His death was supposed to quell the great pirate era, to put it to an end, to serve as a warning to the world that any great pirate could be brought down. But no, that's not the true story. The truth is, his death was meant to spark the new era of pirates, the ones who would go forth, travel the seas, brave the dangers that came along with it, all in the search of their own glory. Hey, where are the gallows? Do you think I can see them? Sure, they're in the town square. Luffy almost excitedly would go running out the door before Volko could even stop him. Hey kid, what's your name? Huh? You're gonna be king of the pirates, right? I want to be able to tell people that I served two great kings. I'd like to know your name. Luffy would smile. The name's Monkey D. Luffy. Monkey D. Luffy. Why am I not surprised? However, for Luffy, unbeknownst to him, those of his past had now banded together in the form of the Buggy and Alvida pirates. They were looking for revenge, and Luffy was their primary target. Not just for all the pain and suffering he had caused, but because of that sweet, sweet bounty and knowing of his true nature and what he was worth, there was all the more incentive to hunt him down. Although it didn't quite go as you would expect, all beknownst to the blunders and the idiocies that came along with it, their attempts to capture him failed horribly. And before long, Luffy found where he wanted to be. He climbed to the gallows, reaching all the way to the top. As he looked out to see what the Pirate King saw moments before his death, Luffy taking in the view, unbeknownst as an unknown figure would appear seemingly out of nowhere behind him. As the rain started to fall even further, Luffy turned, dodging at the last second as a sword-like thing came swinging at his head. Although it wasn't necessarily a sword, more like a pike on a handle with something on the tip of it. Luffy dodged just in time, his hand on his trident, as he looked up and smiled to the one that attacked him. So, you managed to dodge that. You coming after me? Of course. You are a pirate after all. And you're going down, Straw Hat. Okay. If you think you can. Let's see what you got. As lightning would strike above them, Luffy and Smoker would stare into each other's eyes, almost as if fate had ordained for this very moment. It was said that on the day that the great Pirate King Gold D. Roger died, he died with a smile on his face. And now, a boy who shared in those aspirations and a man who sought to quell them now stood against one another on those sacred grounds. As the rain descended upon Loguetown, a clash between two great powers, the powers that be and the ones that sought to change them, all quelling into the final clash. This concludes One Piece, King of the Sea, What If Luffy Was Aquaman, Season 1, Part 7. Stay tuned for tomorrow's video as we conclude with the Season 1 finale. But anyway, that's going to do it for the end of today's video. I'm Javon Harrington with PowerCore Productions and Podcastings. Signing off, and I'll see you next time.